So you might be wondering how you can use this tool called Lax Vox so that you can enhance your vocal practice and have a healthier voice. Well, in this episode, that's exactly what we're going to cover. You're going to get a complete overview of how to use this thing called Lax Vox and how you can best train and restore your singing voice using that tool. So let's dive into it. Hi, my name is Maggie. I'm the founder of the Singing Insiders, in which I help passionate singers just like yourself become the best versions of themselves through singing. And in these episodes, you're going to get a mix of tools, techniques, exercises, and insights to really help you up-level your singing skills. So let's look at what this thing called Lax Vox actually is and how you can best use it to really enhance your singing. So first of all, a little disclaimer, this bottle is not the official Lax Vox bottle. I broke mine. So this is just a random bottle, but the principle is the same. You're putting some kind of tube into water and then you can blow into it, and that has several vocal benefits. Now, the tube, well, we have different shapes and sizes. So let's first go over how exactly it works. Now, the whole practice of Lax Vox relies on back pressure. This is an SOVT exercise or an SOVT tool. And what I'm going to explain right now is something that you can apply to any SOVT tool, whether that's a straw, whether that's a brrr sound, a lip trill. The principles are the same. And then we're going to look at how we can specifically use that within Lax Vox, not only to release any tension and hoarseness within your voice, but we're also going to look at how you can actually train your voice using this tool. So how does it work? Well, we're singing, right? When we're singing, there's air coming out of our lungs and coming out of our mouths, okay? By blowing into this tube that is in water, there's going to be an airflow that comes back in. So you got air going out, air going back in. So these two airflows, they kind of meet each other, and my vocal cords are right in between that. And that helps with many, many different things. A few benefits, as I said, was to release any tension, get rid of any hoarseness, and really reset the voice. Now with Lax Vox, because you're playing with water as well, and with bubbles, it will allow the muscles around the larynx to relax even more, thanks to that bubbly movement, let's say. And it also gives you some flexibility. You can play with the tube size, but you can also play with how far in the water you're putting that tube. So that is an interesting combination that you can play with. There's a difference between relaxing your voice and actually training your voice. So if you're looking to release any tension and get rid of any hoarseness, then we want to have a low back pressure. I'm going to tell you all about that in just a second. If you're looking to train your voice and sing the high notes or expand your lower notes range, if you're looking for something that has more intensity, then we want to have higher back pressure. So it's important to understand the difference between the two. Because maybe you are hoarse and then you want to get rid of that hoarseness, but if you're using a high back pressure, that might not help you right away. So what is the difference between the two? Well, back pressure, there's two factors that we can look at. The first one is the opening of the tube. So if you're looking on YouTube and if you're listening to the podcast, you don't have a visual. But if you're watching this on YouTube, you can see that one tube that I hold in my hand here is bigger than the other one. So the bigger the tube, the less back pressure we have. The smaller the tube, the higher back pressure we have. Okay, so if we can remember that, that's step one. Then another deciding factor is the water. The higher up in the water we put the tube, the less back pressure. The lower down we put the tube in the water, the more back pressure we have. So again, whenever you use this kind of tool, remember what your intention is, and then depending on that, use specific exercises to help you with it. Now we're going to start with some exercises so that you can actually do and use this tool called Lax Vox. So a few exercises that you can do to release or to reset or to get rid of any tension or get rid of any hoarseness are these ones. So if you have your own Lax Vox, take it with you. I would suggest, again, we're looking at release and reset. We're looking at a bigger tube, and we're looking at, I would say about 2 centimeters in the water. So not too low in the water. In other words, we want to have a low back pressure. That's why I'm taking the biggest tube and I'm putting it pretty up high in the water. Okay? So I got about 2 centimeters. I think the rule of thumb is 3 centimeters for men and then 2 centimeters for women. And the first exercise that you can do to really release any tension that might be present is to just blow through the tube without making any sound. So it's literally blowing bubbles. Let's try and do that together. Let me do that again. It's literally blowing bubbles. Let's try that together. That's all there is to it. So what am I doing? I'm blowing air through the tube and it's making bubbles. The important thing here is to remember that we want to have loose cheeks. So you might see my cheeks vibrate as well. We don't want to keep them rigid. We want to keep them very loose so that the air can flow freely. Do you see my cheeks move? Okay, so that's one exercise that you can do. I would suggest doing that for about a minute or so. Then the next one is to actually add sound. So we're going to blow air and then add a very subtle ooh sound behind it. For example, ooh, ooh. So we're switching it up between no vocal folds vibrations and then vocal cords vibrations, right? So we're switching between no voice and voice, no voice and voice. On the Lax Vox, that sounds like this. Simple, right? Once you've done that, we can go to the next level, which is just keeping a very clean tone that feels comfortable for you in your range. You can take my pitch, you can take any other pitch, as long as it feels very comfortable for you. And just hold that for as long as you can. So that might sound something like this. And notice that you want to have this constant airflow. So if you listen to the sound that I'm making, there's this beautiful rhythm in the bubbles that's not like something sticking out. So if I would have not such a nice airflow, I would have something like this. That it actually tickles my throat. So what I did there is push more airflow and then take it back and then push again. We don't want to have that. We just want to have a constant airflow and a constant sound. Keep it super constant. Now, the next exercise would be to add a few accents to it. So what we're doing in our mouths behind it is hoo 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 hoo. So if you do that on the tube, that sounds a bit like this. So I'm doing these small little accents in my voice. Once we've done that, we can start stretching out the vocal cords. And then, for example, going a little bit up higher in our range. I call those the waves. So the waves goes like this. So I'm starting low, I'm going a little bit higher, and then a little bit higher, and then even higher. And then we can go into slides where we're going from the bottom part of our range to the top one and back down. Beautiful. If you have to, because I know I'm going quickly throughout these, but if you do this for 15 minutes a day and you start with the very first exercise that we've done and you end with these slides, you should notice a significant change in your voice. Now, obviously, I've been going through them pretty quickly so that I can give you as many as I can. The idea here is that you take your time with each one of them. Maybe you do 1 or 2 minutes for each of those exercises. These are exercises specifically for releasing the voice, resetting, releasing any tension, releasing any hoarseness. So that's amazing to do maybe at the start of your day or at the end of your day. Now, if that was super valuable for you already, then I invite you to subscribe to this channel so that you keep on being updated when new episodes like this one come out. Now let's move on, because the most interesting part is actually coming up, which is all about training your voice. So if you want to sing high notes, if you want to sing if you want to do some belting, if you want to find your mixed voice, or maybe expand your range in the lower parts of your voice, that's where you can use a higher back pressure. And I'm going to give you some exercises as well. So a higher back pressure means that we're going for a smaller tube, and we're going to put that tube lower in the water. For women, I would say about 3 to 4 centimeters. For men, I would say about 4 to 5 centimeters. And same thing here to start off with. I would start off with a wave so that we can do a little of a vocal stretch. So that might sound something like this. So we're stretching out the vocal cords, and this is where it gets really interesting, because you can actually play with some typical scales that you might already know to really include in your Lax Vox practice. For example, we're just going to do some slides. If you have a Lax Vox tube, let's try and do this together. Beautiful. So this is just one example of a skill where you can do your exercises on. Then what I would also suggest next is whatever song you're working with, whether imagine that's Let It Be by the Beatles, right? Let it be, let it be. Imagine that there's a part in the song that you're finding hard to sing. Well, that is the perfect place to take your Lax Vox and then try out to sing through that part on the tube first. So Let It Be could sound something like this. So I'm singing the whole chorus on my little Lax Vox tube. When that feels and sounds good to you, then you can try to alternate between singing it on the tube and then singing it with your full voice. So that might sound something like, let it be, whisper words, let it be, for example. So that we have an overview or a transition from the tube to the actual full voice. That will allow the setting that you're using on the tube to keep taking that vocal placement when you're actually opening up your sound. So that is a great practice if you really want to train your voice, getting to those higher pitches, and most importantly, to really activate and master your mixed voice. So as you can see, what we've done here today is really focused on one thing. Well, two things. Vocal health, obviously, if we want to get rid of any hoarseness, but mainly vocal technique. Technique to keep your voice healthy, techniques to become a better singer, techniques to sing those higher notes or those lower notes, or to sing any song in a more effective way. And as you can see, technique is a big part of your development as a singer. I would even say that it's training or technique over talent 100% of the time. And one of the main vocal techniques to remember and to really, really, really master is the activation of your mix voice. We kind of started talking about this here today, but this is such an important conversation to have that I want to invite you to go to this conversation next. So I will link to the mixed voice video in the description here down below, because mixed voice will allow you to experience vocal freedom, to sing the high notes, the low notes, all the notes in between without feeling tension, without feeling like your voice is limited. That is the key to vocal freedom, and you need to understand how to apply that within your own vocal journey. So your homework is to go to that episode next. Again, I will link to it in the description here down below so that we can keep this conversation moving forward. But yeah, thank you so much for having been here today. I hope this helped and that you know exactly how you can start your Lax Vox journey now. If you have any questions, hit me up, and I'll see you here again next week. Thank you for being here. Bye.